you're ready.
Yeah, you're ready.
He looks studious.
Well, I'm taking them off now. I want to look that smart.
No, you keep it. You look good.
I know. When you're ready. Is it rolling?
You're ready.
Oh, all right. How are you guys doing today, guys?
Great. Doing good.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt. I'm excited to continue this 18-week sermon series.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? Long sermon series. Let's go. It's called the Playbook, like you already know. It's long. Again, hang in there. Last month we talked about the idea of going back to the basics. Things that we have to go back to as Christians sometimes to help us move forward in our faith. This month we're talking about sustainability. You guys say sustainable. Sustainable. All right. These are things that are going to keep you in the game. Whether or not you're a ministry or a secular office, whether or not you're a student or about to retire, what we talk about today is, in the sub-series, will help you run this neck of the race that you're on. And what else to kick this off than Sabbath? Well, what is Sabbath? Before we get into that, I do have a quote and a little bit of a story. It's from an Instagram post, and honestly, when I read it the first time, it shocked me. At that time, I was getting ready to go grab coffee with my mentor, and we're going to. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I kind of forget. But the main thing we're going to talk about that we switched to was this idea of what had happened. See, a pastor had just fallen from grace, and it was all over Instagram. People were slandering him. It was crazy. But in the midst of that, he posts, right? He posted this. He says, when you lead out of an empty place, you make choices that have real painful consequences. Over the years, I did not do an adequate job protecting my own spirit, refilling my own soul, and reaching out for readily available help. It says this big thing that stood out to me, and maybe for you guys as well. It says when you accept the calling to be a pastor, you must do so in such a way that honors the mandate. And honestly, this guy, he meant a lot to me. And when I first heard about him following, it kind of shocked me. This guy was an amazing preacher. He would lead thousands to the gospel. He was friends with celebrities. He did it all. And as a young ministry student, it really made me reconsider what my priorities are. And with my mentor, he really helped me with that as well. It made me realize this thing. All of us are on a journey of faith. Many things will bring you from point B to point A or point A to point B. You can be talented, you can be driven, disciplined as heck. What's important isn't those things, but rather things that will keep you there. Those things are great. Those things will keep you going for a while, and they'll make you stand out. But what keeps you there is sustainability, which is why I want to talk to you guys about Sabbath. First things first, what is Sabbath? In Mark 27:2, Jesus says to these Pharisees, the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of the people, not the people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath. You see, the people of those days often looked up to the Pharisees to tell them what they were supposed to do with their faith. And the Pharisees decided that you had to abide by these certain rules for the Sabbath in order to keep it holy. And if they didn't, if they saw you out of line, they would get you for it. Pretty much cancel you for it. And Jesus rebukes them by saying that Sabbath wasn't made for rules. Sabbath wasn't made to fill a quota and your little check mark of if you're a good Christian or not. It's made for rest. And I think, if I'm honest, that's something I need right now. Especially as a college student. I have had many nights this past year where I've just been on 4 hours of sleep or less. And the magic Red Bull little drink guy saving me, my saving grace, definitely not good for my health. But back to this thing, Sabbath is a gift, a time from God to rest. In a culture of restlessness and work till you drop, Sabbath is a one day a week we get to focus on ourselves and God and recover. This grind mentality that we've been all preached at by culture is great for some things, but it is not sustainable. With sports medicine, they call this overtraining syndrome, where you will try to work at the game as much as you can, but then take as little rest as you can, thinking if you're weak, you just have to push through that. Unfortunately, that's caused a lot of injuries and a lot of people from the ability to play the game that they love. It's like this. It's like you're playing football and you're running the game, and you're running a play, you're running another play, and you're putting all your energy into it, all of your might into the first couple of plays, yet by the second half, you don't have anything out of you. You're exhaling so much that you don't have any time to have a break and inhale. It's this mentality of pouring in and pouring out. Pouring in when we get filled. It's when we inhale, we breathe in. It's when we're taken care of and we spend time with our Father. Pouring out is the excess of that. Pouring out is when we fill others, when we go meet the needs of the people as believers. It's when we exhale. It's when we work. So many of us are so focused on pouring out rather than being poured into. Sabbath is the inhale to our week-long exhale. In Genesis 2:7 it says, "Then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground. He breathed the breath of life into man's nostrils, and he became a living person." Without the breath of God, we're just dirt and dust. And the truth of the matter is, when we refuse to be filled by God, we say yes to being filled by other things that are not Him. We don't get to choose if we get filled or not, if we get poured into or not, but rather what we fill ourselves with. Case in point, the guy I was talking to you guys about previously, Carl Lentz, just go back to what he had said previously. It says, when you lead out of an empty place, a place where you're not filled, when you have nothing to give, you make choices that have real and painful consequences. God made the Sabbath because He knows we were built, how we were built. The Bible is both our playbook for the game and His player's guide for us that He's given to us. The Bible is our owner's manual for humanity, given to humanity. He knows we need His breath, and that's why we have Sabbath. Well, then that begs the question, how do we Sabbath, right? First time that it's mentioned specifically as Sabbath is in Exodus 20. In verse 8 it says, "Remember and observe the Sabbath day, keeping it holy." In verse 10 it says, "The seventh day is a Sabbath day of rest, dedicated to the Lord your God." Sabbath, or Shabbat, is a verb. In and of itself, it means to cease or to stop. And so if we go back into those verses for a minute, we can reread it. We replace Sabbath with those words. In verse 8, "Remember to observe the day of stopping and keeping it holy." Remember to observe the day of ceasing and keeping it holy. Verse 10, "The seventh day is a stopping day of rest, dedicated to the Lord your God." Sabbath is a day where we press pause on our weeks and on our busyness. When we Sabbath, we get to do things that we choose that are restful to us. The beauty of that is, again, Sabbath is a gift. It's not a set of rules we have to abide by. We get to do things that we ourselves know ourselves to be as stuff that are restful. For me, that's taking drives. I like to go on long distance drives, playing music in the middle of the night, maybe going to a beach or something by myself, and resting. Turning my phone off, not hearing anybody, as much as I love you guys. For someone else, that may look like going and reading the Bible in the corner of their room. or sharing a meal with friends on that day. The bottom line is being able to do things that you wouldn't be able to do any of the other 6. It's these things that if you have time to do them on the other 6, great, do them. If you can do them on the other 6, do them. If you can't do them on this, if they are not ceasing, if they are not resting, truly resting, you have 6 other days to do that. I feel like as a culture have gotten so like hung up on this idea of Saturday, Sunday, the weekend mentality of Saturday is for laundry and shopping, and Sunday is for going to church, maybe getting brunch after, and then going home. But for some of us, that might not be truly resting. Another thing about Sabbath, the last thing I have about Sabbath, is that Sabbath doesn't have to be on Sunday or Saturday. There's been times where my schedules look like Sabbath is on a Thursday because I don't have classes that day. Or Sabbath has been sometimes on a Monday. And I mean, for us in this room that are ministers or going to be ministers, like, we're never going to have a Sunday that's us resting if we're not, unless we're like not in the church on vacation. And with that, I say, with Sabbath, treat it as a gift. Treat it as something you get to work on and craft for yourself and your future families, whatever have you. And that's all I have, guys. Thank you so much.